Hey guys, welcome back. Robocraft Early Access coverage. This is episode 84. I'm Enigmius, and today, 4 new matches in the Flying Squirrel, our tier 10 plasma copter. A mixed bag for you today. Some good, some not so good. Some strange things happen that turn into really neat things or really awful things. This is obviously the first match. We've got our Mega. He spawned basically right in front of me, so it was easy to find him and kind of follow along a little bit. This map is very, very small, so I don't want to go too high, but at the same time I don't want to spend all my time ducking behind mountains where I can't see or do anything. We've got the enemy Megabot coming around the corner here. It looks like they're going to go head to head, but most importantly, I want to make sure that I'm keeping my distance. It's so easy to overextend in a copter, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in a position where you're taking fire and you've got nowhere to go to get out of the way. So we're just kind of laying back, making sure that we're throwing down some damage in front of us, in front of our teammates, trying to support them as much as possible. Anytime you're damaging a bot that your teammates are fighting, it's better than damaging a bot that nobody else in your team is anywhere near. Unless, of course, they're sitting on the enemy cap, but that's kind of a secondary issue. It's about supporting the teammates, supporting the team, instead of just trying to all go alone and solo all of the targets, because then when things go bad, we just pop that guy like a balloon. That was very gratifying. So this is an example. This guy was kind of moving around to flank our guy, so I put a little bit of fire on him. He's well engaged with me, so I'm going to pull out of the way as soon as I see our friendly guy coming around behind him, which happens to be a medic. I didn't even notice, but then the guy, his spot goes off, and I thought for a second that he was killed until I lift up and I see the medic is still shooting in his direction. By the time I get around to actually offer some supportive fire, there's not a whole lot that I can do, but I managed to get a shot on him, and he's gone. And here's the enemy Megabot. He got chased away. Oh, Megabots. So he's taking part in the traditional post-beating medic circle jerk. Meanwhile, our Mega is advancing around to kind of meet him, and now it's time to resume my position as fire supports until I see the plasma. And this guy is down here. Now, I was not intending to fly into the mountain like that. That was a bit of derpy piloting on my part, and he tags me, takes off one rotor, tags me, take off another. But what he doesn't realize is that on my way down to the ground, I transformed into turret mode, because we're a transformer, and that's what we do. So we're lying here with all of our guns in the optimal position to kind of defend ourselves, and it's just a question of who's going to get hit first for how much. That guy for enough to kill him. That's the answer to that question. At this point, there's not much more we can do unless a medic would be wandering by, which, I mean, I'm not even going to call out for... I've never supported the idea of calling out for a medic. I've always thought that it was kind of missing the point of the whole exercise. I'm crippled. I've done a bit of damage. I've supported my team. I'm not disappointed with my performance in this match at all. And all we have to do is wait for our team. They just swarmed that last red guy. Just all 4 of them converged on him at once. And it's a clean win. It's a good win. So definitely no reason to be unhappy about that. Now this match, it just gets weird. And it doesn't stop being weird. It's one of those matches that we're going to go one way and the enemy's going to go the other. And then somewhere along the line, we're going to kind of meet in different places that don't really do anything. It's just bizarre. So again, follow the Mega from a safe distance. Sometimes it's nice to get spotting points. And it's quite often very easy to do in a copter, even while you're hanging back. But at the same time, I'm not rushing ahead to try and get spotting points, because nothing is worse than going back to the garage with 0 kills, 0 assists, less than 300 CPU destroyed, and 3 spotting points. It's just not worth it. So we're kind of sticking to the ridge here a little bit. Not much that we can do by way of cover in this map. It's not really suited to, covering flyers, except for the outer edges and some of the valleys and stuff like that. But when you start getting towards the middle of the map, in between the 2 bases, you're basically on your own. Now, you can see we're getting a little bit of information about where the enemy is up in the distance. Most of them seem to be up in that area there. We've got one enemy bot, one of the defenders. Right? Oh, yes, you have to defend the base. He paid for it. He's not in the match anymore because he defended, and guess what happened? Way more bots showed up than he was able to handle, and that's what happens when you sit around and wait to defend. So we've got another guy up on the hill, and just throwing down some damage, reminding him that he's in hostile territory, and he's just sitting there taking it to the face, which is maybe not the best way to accomplish anything. Maybe he disconnected. Maybe he had an urgency. He had to get up and run to the bathroom. I don't know, but he paid for it in that case. And we're just kind of taking the enemy as they come, but now the enemy is pushed around to our base. They're about halfway through the first segment. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I hate losing to stuff like this where it's just both push to cap and then sit on the base. So I'm going to keep fire going on anyone that I see along the way, but my main goal is to utilize my speed to get some damage onto the guys in the circle from as far away as I possibly can to keep interrupting their capture attempt until I'm sure that our guys have got a pretty good handle on it and we've got a pretty good lead, which by this case is true. We've got about a 2-segment lead on them. Or, actually, no, that's not true. It's a little over a 1-segment lead by this point. But that's still plenty because there's no enemy bots back our way towards their base to interrupt. They've all basically gone and sat on the cap, and it's going to cost them the win because they're just not thinking very much at all. You can't feel bad for them when they lose because they just made a bunch of mistakes. That's kind of the way it goes. Speaking of a bunch of mistakes, if you wanted to see what it looks like when the Blues make a bunch of mistakes, this is a good match for that. Again, a very small map, not necessarily the easiest one for a flyer to kind of manage because there's very little places for actual functional cover. We've got the cave that we're going to be seeing here shortly for those who aren't 100% familiar with the maps yet. As soon as we kind of go forward, we're going to come across the ice cave, and it's got this big sort of jagged plateau above it that isn't really suited for cover because it's largely flat. Once you get up there, it's, you can't kind of set down anywhere. You can't hide behind very much of anything. It's just what it is. So I'm doing my best at this point to kind of keep an eye on bombers, flankers, anything that's going to come around and give our guys in the cave any kind of grief. Let them do the spotting. Let them kind of paint the picture of what's going on the other side of that cave. And then once it seems like we've got an opportunity to go forward and lend some fire support, then that's what we can do. But we're not, just because we're a flyer doesn't mean we're obligated to play a scouting role. And in this case, it was a plasma copter versus plasma copter. And I hit first, and I thought, I hit you and you missed me. I shouldn't have said that to myself. That was very dumb. So there's a plasma bomber around here, and you can see I'm turning around, I'm looking, I'm trying to find, because I saw it, and I saw the arrow that said where he was, but that's not always reliable when it's coming from a flyer. And I just want to know where it's from, so I can either evade or, drag him toward my teammates, whatever is necessary. Doesn't really matter at this point. Things aren't going to go that well for us. That one guy, defeating that one guy would have made a difference. So here's the guy that I thought was him. It's another plasma copter, and there again, I was very happy to have hit him because I thought he was the guy who clobbered me. It turns out it might have been someone else. You can see we've got some more fire coming from the plasma variety in the sky. That guy there. This guy's going to be a little bit harder to hit. Have to be a little bit careful because he's going to shoot in our direction. But we've got a railgunner, and now we've got plasma from another direction, and it's just all over plasma. And I'm trying to figure out where the hell it's all coming from, and I can't. But you figure, okay, well, look at our team in the cave. The enemy is now capping, and we've got 4 guys over in the mouth of the cave, our side. They aren't moving back to interrupt the cap. They aren't moving forward to help the push. It's a great big circle jerk, and they're not moving. They're not moving at all. So those of us outside the cave are taking all kinds of plasma damage. The 4 guys at the mouth of the cave just basically sat there doing nothing, waiting for the rest of the team to win for them. That was irritating when you see that many bots in such a ridiculous position that they could have gone either way and made a contribution, and they just chose to sit there until we lost due to a base capture when they could have seen our base if they had moved just a few bot lengths from where they were and looked. That's very silly. Very, very silly indeed. So this is our last match. Whatever. This is the last one for the day. And again, kind of advancing a little bit slowly, trying to keep a distance so that we don't kind of lose all of our bits before we've even really had a chance to contribute anything. Come across a bunch of enemy bots, and they're only seeing me. They're all very happy to shoot at me. Can't say I blame them, but that means the one thing that they didn't do is they didn't light me. They didn't spot me. So now I can kind of duck behind cover and move away, and they have no idea where I am. So bad for them for not spotting. That's why we spot. It's not just so that we know where the enemy is, it's so that we can monitor their movement when there's nobody else around to tell us, which is basically all the time, because nobody uses the chat feature. Nobody has time to use the chat feature. It's a single button press that says, look at this guy, look at his name, look where he is. And people don't use it. They give up a substantial advantage. It's a shameful kind of thing, and there's only so much we can do to explain to people, to try and remind people, spot your damn targets. You should be spotting before you start shooting. That's kind of the rule. If you see a target and he's in your crosshair, the first button you push is not the fire button, it's the spot button. And you get into that habit, and all of a sudden everything is spotted all the time. Your team has a great picture of what's going on around them. They can make intelligent decisions about where to go and why. And it's a win-win, but preaching to the converted, or preaching to the savages who just don't care. They'd rather boil us and have us for dinner than listen to our rantings about spotting. So this is a case where I'm not really feeling like I'm able to do anything constructive, and I'm taking fire from pretty much every angle. Our guys are getting picked apart. The enemy isn't really doing anything. It's just one of those matches where things aren't working. And it's very difficult from my vantage point, ironically, despite the fact that I can see a lot of things that ground bots can't. I see it from such a distance that I can't always identify exactly what the problem might be. It feels like our team should have got more kills by this point in the match for the number of us that have been shot down and destroyed, but we're just not working. It might have been that we had bad bots, bad strategy, or maybe that we just got outplayed, but this is a case where there's only a couple of us left, and I come down in this really weird position where I don't have enough lift to keep my bot in the air, but I have enough lift to keep the ass end in the air. So I'm thinking one of these enemy bots is going to come around the corner. I'm going to blast him because all of my guns are now facing in his direction. But we've got the one friendly guy up there who's a more interesting target for them, and they aren't going to come around the corner until he's dead. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.